we just wanted to know what a day in the life of an anorexic person, inside of their head, what that would be like. And I'm sure that also depends. But I've seen interviews before on TV, and, talk shows and stuff like that, where they go through what the girls or guys, mostly girls, but how they think throughout the day, and how they can even punish themselves mentally by chewing a piece of gum or something like that. So, as far as from the patients that you have, what would like a day in their life be like?
It's really like hell in your mind. It's spiritual warfare in your mind, and it's obsession. Obsessing about everything that they may eat or not eat, obsessing about every mistake they've made. There's a lot of self-contempt with addictions, but with eating disorders, there's a lot of that. So it's really difficult for. I encourage most of my clients to journal, and a lot of them email me throughout the day, and that's their way of journaling, because then they can shoot it off, and they know that I get it, and then we can talk about it when they come in.
Right.
But it's torturous. It's really when they are in the grasp of the disease.
So, are there some of your patients who would literally go a whole day without eating anything, or some of them eat certain food, maybe like lettuce or something like that? Do you have patients, like anorexic patients, who do eat certain things throughout the day, or do most of them just not eat anything all day?
Well, oftentimes their goal is not to eat anything all day, and if they do eat something, it would be something very low-cal, low fat, like celery.
Celery.
Because celery is pretty much just water.
Yeah.
And so it would be to chew on celery, that kind of thing. So, yeah, they monitor themselves, excuse me, very closely, and then punish themselves, if they feel that they didn't meet their expectations.
And punish themselves in their head, punish themselves physically. Like, do some of your patients have problems with, say, cutting and stuff like that? Is that a common thing to see in anorexic patients?
Often there's comorbidity. There's more than one addiction.
Okay.
So, not always, but often. So it's not uncommon to have someone who is alcoholic and bulimic, or someone who is a cutter and who is anorexic. So first of all, they torture themselves with their thoughts. They beat themselves up, how terrible they are and what a loser they are and how they're never going to get well, and are just so steeped in shame. And that's the first step. And then the other is sometimes they torture them, or they punish themselves by, not eating, making a commitment not to eat at all the next day whatsoever, or, they purge what they've eaten, or they take a handful of laxatives, or they take, other water pills, those kinds of things.
What exactly are those?
Water pills, it's to help you lose excessive water, which is why dehydration is also a characteristic of one of the physical symptoms of eating disorders. So they lose any kind of, water weight, but at the same time, the problem is, we are mostly made up of water, and so, they're dehydrating their systems. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways of punishing, oneself when they're in the midst of that.
Do you find that they also punish themselves, but in other areas of their lives too? Because it just kind of sounds like some of these girls might be perfectionists or anal retentive and want to just do everything perfectly. Is that the case with a lot of the girls?
Okay. Absolutely.
Okay.
And, have to be or feel like they need to be, you know, in the popular group, or are upset if they're not, you know, need to make cheerleader. And then eventually those things are no longer important because it gets in the way of their eating disorders, so they start to isolate, you know. But there's a lot of perfectionism, and unrealistically high expectations of themselves.
Right.